Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And this movie came out in 2002, and it's directed by Chris Columbus once again. And I thought this movie was pretty good. I thought it was an improvement over the first movie. Had plenty of elements that were really fun and added a lot to my experience. And I definitely noticed improvements while watching this movie. Not just from the acting, from the child performances. Not saying that they were great necessarily, but I felt as though they were a bit better, not just like reading off the lines that were given to them. Like they actually had a bit better of an understanding of how to perform. The visual effects I thought were improved in this movie. I just felt as though there were improvements in this film as opposed to the first movie, where it's a bit more dated than this movie, I guess, probably because this one's newer. But more things that I liked about it were I enjoyed the kind of silly, lighthearted tone. I did enjoy the kind of darker elements of the story. Those things I did enjoy. And also with this movie kind of starting in a, I guess, darker place where like things kind of go wrong pretty early on. But the movie never once loses me because it's making these decisions. It's always keeping me engaged because there's something interesting or some sort of a hook is there for me at the very least. And I did enjoy the music this time around also. And I did like the music that was added to this film, and the main theme wasn't spammed in this film. That's another thing that I appreciated about it. And the acting from the adult actors I thought were pretty great. And we also got Kenneth Branagh in this film and Jason Isaacs. I thought he was fantastic. I really loved seeing him on screen. He had great screen presence as well. That also really helped. The movie is also well shot as well. And there were some shots in this movie that kind of reminded me of The Evil Dead, which I found to be kind of fun. And I also thought the magic was fun to watch in this movie as well. That's something I didn't really touch on in my review for Sorcerer's Stone, but the magic is always fun, and it's always like a highlight of the movie for sure. And also with the first movie needing to establish so much about how this universe operates, this movie can just tell a story and to not really worry too much about having to explain all these different things. And all these things are kind of just explained, and now it can just tell a coherent narrative without worrying as much with needing to explain every single thing that works in this universe. And I do think that's such an advantage that this movie has. And I also did admire the usage of practical effects. There were more practical effects in this movie than I remembered, and I thought they were pulled off pretty well. And there's plenty of memorable scenes, and for the most part, I was really engaged with what this movie was presenting. And this movie is longer than Sorcerer's Stone, but it didn't drag on for me. I wasn't getting impatient with it. And all that leading up to the third act, I thought was great, and I really enjoyed. But once we do get to the third act, it does kind of fall apart for me. But I'll explain that later. But most of the movie, at least 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, was great, and I really enjoyed the ride. And one thing that I didn't really pick up on when watching these movies when I was younger is that the character of Draco Malfoy, in the first movie, I just remember him being like the school bully, but in this movie, there was something that I kind of picked up on, and that is he's really trying to be the best and always trying to prove himself that he's better than everyone else in a sense. And I kind of got to that in this movie a little bit. And I'm not sure if that's something that's consistent throughout the entire franchise, but it is something that I did notice upon this viewing. I don't really consider this to be a spoiler, but in these movies, there are a lot of different defense against the dark arts teachers for various different reasons. And I kind of had this thought, and this is not really this movie's fault or really anyone's fault, it's just me, is that it is kind of a punchline when you start to realize how many different defense against the dark arts teachers there are in these movies. There's like a new one every movie, at least from memory. If I'm wrong about that, I'll find out not too long from now. There were some characters in this movie that did feel pointless. Not like major characters, just side characters that I just didn't really care for. One tiny thing about this movie that bugged me a little bit is when characters are writing and they're speaking out loud what they're writing. That's something that I just kind of don't like in movies. Or just when characters are reading out loud to themselves. That's another thing that kind of bugs me. And it's definitely a me thing, but that's probably not going to affect every single person out there. There were some dated filmmaking elements for sure that I didn't really agree with towards the third act. And ultimately, the third act of this movie was a bit underwhelming for me. Not because it was like poorly executed, but while I was watching it, my brain, I don't know what happened, but I just felt like I was watching how it would have been presented in a book rather than how it would be presented in a movie in terms of how it's paced and presented. Like, oh, and then this character does this, and then this happens, and that happens. And I felt like I was watching a book being adapted into a movie rather than just being impressed with filmmaking and watching a movie. And that was kind of distracting for me. But that's about all I have to say about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I thought it was really good. Definitely an improvement over the first movie. Third act kind of slipped a little, but all in all, really, really, really enjoyable. And I'd watch it again. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets a 7 out of 10. I do kind of love this movie, and I'm really tempted to give it an 8, but I'm going to stick with a 7 out of 10 for now. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below your thought of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and my social media links. They will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Copycat. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.